Football happy hour on CBS Sports HQ. The top free agent safeties, according to Pete Prisco's top 100 free agents. John Johnson, number 1. Couple of guys in the top 25. Anthony Harris there at number 24. Keanu Neal, Desmond King of the Titans, and Xavier Rhodes of the Dallas Cowboys. Number 73 overall, but the number 5 free agent safety. Let's bring in our draft analyst, Ryan Wilson, and our 2-time Super Bowl champion, Bryant McFadden. And let's start with the number 1 free agent safety here, BMAC. John Johnson, quite the rise from a 3rd-round pick a few years ago to leading that great Rams defense.
No question. JJ's my favorite player on their defense, not named Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey. I love his style of play. The thing that I love about JJ, the versatility. I mean, it's not just about what he does in the secondary. Ultimately, he's the best traffic cop you would like to have in your secondary. He commands all traffic. He tells people where to go, when to go, and he's been so accurate in doing so. But the versatility to go to the 2nd level and play in the box as a linebacker. Go back and watch some of their defensive film. In certain packages, John Johnson goes and plays the linebacker position, and he does it well. So he's a very versatile player. He means a lot. And when you see some of the other guys in the secondary making these heroic-like plays, it's because of John Johnson is able to say certain things to them to put them in positions to be successful. And he's the ultimate traffic cop. Like I said, when things happen and someone may get behind a defender, he is right there to cover things up. So that cannot go unnoticed, and they need to do everything in their power, in my opinion, to try to bring him back to La La Land, because if he's not there, that defense will be good, but they're a much better team when he is there in the lineup.
All right, Ryan, what about the number 2 ranked safety in the free agent class, Anthony Harris, who's been playing for the Vikings?
Yeah, BMAC talked about John Johnson's versatility. The thing about Anthony Harris is that he is a free safety. That's where he primarily plays, but he plays it at a high level. He is one of the best safeties in the league, and we rarely talk about him. Did he have a great 2020 season? Not really, but that entire Vikings defense struggled, partly because of injuries, partly because of the lack of players. They let a lot of guys go in the previous free agency, but he is such a talented player on the back end. He understands route concepts. He understands what the quarterback wants to do with the ball and where he wants to go with it. He knows what the receivers are doing. And his ability to make plays on the ball is what separates him from just about every other free agent in this class. He's primed to make himself some money, $12, $13, $14 million a year. Now it's just a matter of where he ends up. The idea of him going somewhere like the Browns, who need help in the secondary, or the Ravens, who need help in the secondary, and joining a winning franchise probably is something that excites him. It would be great for him to come back to Minnesota, but we have to see what they have to do with their cap space situation as they try to figure out a whole bunch of other things they have to sort through in the coming weeks.
Talking about the top 3 free agent safeties, number 1 was a former 3rd-round pick. Number 3 is a former 1st-round pick, and Keanu Neal of the Falcons. And Mac, he had major injuries in both 18 and 19.
No question, to back your statement, the last 3 years he's participated in 19 ball games, and he played in 15 in 2020. So when you go back to 2019 and 2018, he was more on the sideline than on the football field. And that could be a big concern for teams that are looking to sign him, to add him to their secondary. The potential was there. 2017 Pro Bowl, many felt like he was in the direction of being the next great light safety. And then the injury woes started to happen. He just couldn't get out of the injury window. He stayed there. He played a full season last year. He won't blow you away with his ability to create turnovers. He's more of an enforcer. He's like the bouncer of the secondary. He's a guy that's not going to finesse you with anything. He's going to hit you dead in the mouth. He's not a guy like Harris is when you talk about picking off passes and things like that. He won't get his hands on a lot of footballs, but he's a guy that can definitely enforce his will, especially in run support. I see Keanu Neal potentially signing a 2-year-like deal, for a team that may have concerns with his injuries. If he's healthy, yeah, he can be a productive player, but that has been the biggest concern regarding Keanu Neal is his health.
All right, we're going to head to BMAC's wheelhouse here as we stay in the secondary. The top free agent cornerbacks, and William Jackson of the Bengals tops the list, number 20 overall, followed by Shaquille Griffin, number 35 overall, and Patrick Peterson, host of the All Things Covered podcast with Bryant McFadden. Bryant, we'll get to Patrick in a moment. Let's start at the very top. Number 1, William Jackson.
William Jackson, one of the most talented corners that's available as a free agent. He can run, he's athletic, he can jump. I mean, his rookie campaign, he just kind of kicked down the doors with real good play against some top level wide receivers. And I think when you look at his career there in Cincinnati, he's basically was a 4-year starter, played around with almost 50 ball games, but only 3 interceptions. I think that's a big disappointment for him to have the type of skills that he has, the athleticism that he has, to only bring in 3 interceptions and 48 starts. I think he has to find a way to create more turnovers. But because of the lack of turnovers that we've seen in his career, he still will be a hot name on the market. And you see Pete Prisco has him #1 when you look at the corners that will be available, because the skill set is there. He can run, he can jump, he competes. He just has to find that knack for creating turnovers. And when he does, he will be a complete corner.
Okay, to #2, Ryan Wilson, it's Shaquille Griffin, who had a great 2019 season and then fell off a bit last year.
That's right, Chris. 2019 season was a sort of coming out season. He had 13 pass breakups that year, graded really well according to the advanced metrics. Early on in his career, 2017, 2018, it took him a little bit to get acclimated. Injuries were also a concern. 2020 wasn't quite as great, but he had 3 interceptions. So the ability, the playmaking ability is there. It's just been the lack of consistency, and primarily that has to do with injuries. So if he can stay healthy, and we understand that's hard to do sometimes in the NFL when you're trying to take down guys that outweigh you by 20 and 30 pounds. But if he can stay healthy and continue to build on what he did in 2019 and what we saw glimpses of in 2020, I think he has a chance to make himself some money. We're probably looking at $10 or $11 million on the free agent market. Teams always need cornerbacks. And I think he has the chance to be one of those guys that finds himself getting paid early rather than later once free agency starts next week.
All right, I hope everybody's checked out the All Things Covered podcast, the uberly successful All Things Covered podcast with Bryant McFadden and Patrick Peterson of the Arizona Cardinals. Had Nick Saban on the past episode. Great stories there. You're going to have to give us some inside info here, B-Mac. I know you got it on Patrick Peterson, our #3 ranked free agent cornerback.
Well, I can tell you this much. Pat has already informed me that the team he will sign with, they have a real good player at the quarterback position.
Okay.
So he wants to go to a competitor. So if your favorite team has some question marks at the quarterback position, he's not thinking about going there. So I'm not necessarily saying that will trump the financial terms, but that's a big priority for Pat Peterson. So the quarterback play. So there you look at the teams that we've seen his name be associated with. There's some teams with some pretty good quarterback play. Some teams that have been struggling when it comes to that position. But he's excited. I can tell you this much: he's going to have something to say about Pete Prisco having him 3rd. And you look at all the cornerbacks, so I can't wait to see this back and forth dialogue between Pat P and our very own Pete Prisco. But Pat is excited about this opportunity. He believes he has a lot more football left, 5 or 6 more years. He's only 31 years old, but he's excited. And you can't count out the Arizona Cardinals as well, because one thing about Pat P is not just about playing outstanding, prolific, like playing on the football field. He's a good guy in the locker room as well, in the community. He's a guy that will command respect, and he will be a quality, sound leader in the locker room for whatever team he's playing with next. But the Arizona Cardinals will try to retain his services, but he's on the open market. He's excited about that. And one thing I would like to tell you guys as well, he's going to make his announcement for whatever team he signs with. If he signs back with AZ or if he signs with a different team, on the All Things Covered Pod Instagram page. We're going to go live, so whenever that news breaks, you won't hear from Adam Schefter first. You're going to hear from Pat Peterson first.
All right, that's great. That's a great way to use the platform, B-Mac. Looking forward to that. Maybe sometime next week when free agency begins. Ryan, #4 ranked cornerback becoming a free agent, Xavier Rhodes. A few years ago, he'd be higher on this list, not the player he was 3 and 4 years ago.
Yeah, and sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what a player needs. And I remember talking to NFL cornerbacks coach the year before Xavier Rhodes signed with the Colts last offseason. He said sometimes it's the coaching, sometimes it's the player, sometimes you need to get after the player. And for Xavier Rhodes, going to Indianapolis was the best thing that happened to his career at this stage of the proceedings. He's 30 years old. His career started off strong in Minnesota, and then we saw him struggle mightily in 2019. Came back last year on that one-year deal in Indianapolis, had a really good showing. But as a 30-year-old coming off only one good year production, what does that mean in terms of what he can expect salary-wise? He might be looking at $5, $6, $7 million a year. If he's okay with that, I'm sure there'll be a landing spot for a 1 or 2 year deal to continue his career. If not, he may have to wait a little longer and sort of negotiate that out. But I think the great news for him is the way he played in Indianapolis last year. has put faith into the other NFL teams that he can still do it at a high level, even though he's 30 years old.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.